like to show in the very beginning is like how can we change Tableau settings without impacting our users, how to do graceful restart of specific services, how can we apply new configuration settings, bring up new workers or just disable workers. And in the second half, I will also show something important and also very useful, like how can we bind sites to specific worker hosts, like how can we make sure that different sites and their business or functional owners will get the necessary bandwidth from the Tableau environment, and also make sure that the QA sites or badly made workbooks can just redirect it to one specific worker, so they can be isolated and make sure that they are not impacting very important other production workbooks. So that's the agenda for today. So let's start why it's so cool that we can change the server configuration without restart. So first of all, sometimes it happens that we need to reboot a single degraded worker. That's usually easy. I mean, most of us are just killing the process in the background and hope that it will come back easily. But there are more sophisticated ways to do that. But what is more important, and this is something what you can't really do just by killing the processes, is changing the configuration settings. And one very reasonable example is you'd like to increase the log level for VisQL or for the Vis portal from info to debug to see what's really going on if you have some production issues or even if you have issues in your QA environment, and or just add one trusted host for your web team. All of these changes require to stop the service, change the setting, regenerate the config file, and start up the service. And if you have like large deployments, and I definitely think that most of you definitely have large deployments, it could take like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it definitely cause outages for the customer, for the end user. So that's the use case, and that's what we can really easily avoid if we know how Tableau works internally. And we have built a couple of tools, what we release in the next week. Actually, it's already the source codes are already in the GitHub, so we will share all the codes required to do this kind of very graceful restarts or graceful configuration changes, so you can do it on your own. So let's see how things are working. So how exactly this configuration change works in real life. Let me switch to one of my servers. So this is our pretty nice and also pretty default Tableau server. That will be our that's what we are going to use for this demonstration. So first of all, I don't know if you are familiar with the session management of the VisQL, but let me just quickly show you. So whenever you open a visualization, it will require a VisQL session from the server, and these VisQL sessions will be linked together with a VisQL server process with a VisQL worker. When you open a report and see the network communication, you can see that all the URLs includes this session information. So this is exactly what we call as a VisQL server ID. This is built when you just open the visualization. So actually, if you say this is a global temperature report, and then you open this global temperature report, the server will give you back the session ID, which consists from the session identifier and the worker identifier. So the worker identifier's first number identifies the worker host. So 0 stands for primary, while the 1 stands for the second process of VisQL server on that host. And as I told you, from this point, every every session, I mean, every URL will contain this session, and that will used for the communication, and that's how your gateway knows where a particular request needs to be redirected. So if we enable a module in our gateway, and again, this is something supported by Tableau, but this is the supported way what like rest of the world is doing when they are administrating Apache HTTP servers. So this unsupported way is where you can see how these workers, how these redirect rules managed inside the gateway. So you can easily understand what's going on in the HTTP server and how these sections are managed and how the gateway locates the WSQL processes. So if you enable this in your HTTP configuration templates, and we will also share the information how you can do it. And as you see, just for the demonstration today, I just disabled the security checks, which is quite unlikely, especially for me. So we can see how this really works. Just before we are there, let me show how this server looks like. So we have like two WSQL servers, we have two backgrounders, one application server, so one WSPortal, and one data server. And if I just go to this Balancer Manager, which is the Apache web server built in Balancer configuration framework, I can see how Tableau is doing the this kind of failover, this kind of load balancing under the hood. So let's take a moment on the WSQL server because that's what we are really looking for. As you can see, every URL host, I mean every worker URL, like this port 9100 and 9101, has a root identifier inside the gateway. This root identifier is exactly the same what we saw previously when we checked the WSQL session. So this is how the server knows that that WSQL server request needs to be sent to this worker port. And also, if you just check here, if I mouse over in the WSQL server status, you can see that this is the first process is listening on the 9100 port, while the other is on the 9101 port. And this is, the interface which connects the dots. So what can we do with this Balancer Manager? So this is not just, show what's the current configuration. It also allows us to enable, disable, and also do other magic with the WSQL server processes and their routing. So let's say that we'd like to add debug logging to our WSQL servers. So right now, it's not so easy if you need to turn on the debug for the WSQL servers, but sometimes it requires if you want to understand why some strange behavior is on your system. And previously it required a full restart, but let me show how can you do it without impacting the users. So let me open a report and see which worker is used when we are interacting with the report. So set active zone, let's check. It's using the second process, so the worker is the O1. What I can do in this balance manager, and this will be the key to the graceful restart. So this will be, the most important thing to do restarts without impacting the users. That if I click the configuration of this worker, I can say that, okay, drain this worker off. let's enable the draining mode. The draining mode means that every VisQL session which is established, so the user is doing some interaction, can go back to that worker. But all the other users, everyone, needs to go to the remaining ones. So we can just drain the server out. We can make sure that eventually no users will be able to access, access or interact with that VisQL worker. And if the number of sessions goes down, we can kill the process, it will be restarted, and then we can enable it back. So let's go here, and if I just interact, you can see that the server responds. So for this guy who already established a connection, we can just, still use this worker. However, if I log on from other computer, let's say, maybe that's the server, yes. So if I open another report from this computer, it will make sure that that worker will be not used at all. So let me check. And you can see it went to the other process, not to the, this is the first process, not the second one. Let's open another visualization. Maybe it's the same, I don't know. Let's check where it went. It's still on the 0, 1. So this allows us to isolate a worker and say that no new users can go there, but who is already there, they can finish whatever they're doing. And as long as I, change the draining mode back to normal one, if I switch that off, then also the new guys, the new processes can access that worker again. So let's see an example. So right now, I guess the server is, the VisQL server is switched to info mode, so we don't see any debug logs here. Let's check if, how can we just restart it gracefully without impacting the users. And I will use that tool, what we will share you, like a special gift. So let's see how it works with real life example. So first of all, let me just do tab admin set info log level on not the native API log level to debug. That's the first step. The server is still running, so you don't have to stop anything. Actually, the tab admin set does nothing else, just put this variable, this option to the tab svc YML file in your configuration directory. Now it's time to generate the template. So you have to just rebuild all your configuration files based on the template. The server is still running. And when we have these configurations in place, and like with the API log level equal to debug in them, we can try to use a graceful restart only for VisQL server. So this -RV stands for VisQL restart. And the tool will interface with this load balancer manager. It will make sure that it will turn off the server when no sessions are inside the VisQL server. So when every user finishes their current session, so it's safe to turn off and turn on the service with the new configuration file, and it will iterate and loop on all the workers. So it will do everything what you can do manually, but it will do it in an automated way. So we all set. We have this debug level enabled. Let me just start interacting here. This is still working. And let's start the magic. So I will set two options here just to speed up this demonstration. So we have a forced restart timeout, which is in seconds. This stands for how many seconds needs to be wait before we kill a service anyway. So this is the maximum time what the user can spend on a service marked to be restarted. So the service is already in training mode, but in this case, we will, because we have limited time, we will not wait more for 30 seconds. And the GMX polling time, here I set it to 15 seconds, which is usually it's enough to check it in every minute. From the GMX service, Tableau has a very good GMX API. From the GMX, we can actually read how many active sessions are inside that worker from vSQL perspective. So we can have algorithm like, let's put a vSQL server, in our case, to training mode, drain out. Let's wait maximum a few minutes or an hour, depends on our customers or how on their behavior. Let's wait maximum like an hour before we force kill the processes. But if we find out in the GMX that the service is not used, then just stop it immediately. So let me show you how it works. Let's start the application. But I just renamed it. It's not snapshot anymore. And okay, so it went to the balance manager. From that, it obtained what are the vSQL servers. It will gracefully restart 0, 0. It will wait a couple of seconds. So here, it's still working because it was like in the first it was the first 30 seconds. So after it needs to be forced restarted because I still logged on here. Now, as you can see, even during the restart, everything could work. No impact. We can click all the sites. You can open the reports and just show it again. So first of all, you are going to restart the first vSQL process, switch to training mode, connect to GMX to find out how many active sessions left there. This is controlled by this option, so we know that there are 2 active sessions. Let's retry it in 15 seconds. Let's see if the number of sessions decreased. If not, then let's go to another cycle. But when we reach the forced restart timeout, then we will restart it anyway. So let's send a stop signal to that process, and let's wait until it came back. And after it completed, we know that the server was successfully restarted, at least that process, so we can go to another one and do the same stuff on that service as well. So actually, that's the algorithm, and depending how fast is our computer, let's try to open a report. It works like a charm, even if it's still, under restarting, but we know that it should be on the worker 0, 0. Actually, it is it. And when I go to the log files, I should see that we have debugs in it. So we were able to turn on the debug logs for the vSQL server. We were able to restart it, and as you see, the server was operating in the whole time. The users were not impacted, and you can control actually everything in it. You can also do the same for other services, not just for vSQL. You can do for the same for the rest of the Tomcat-based containers. Plus, you can also do it for other processes there. You can't really leverage the training mode, but when you have highly available system, like having load balancers for managing the gateway failovers, and you have zookeepers, Redis in place. Then beside the vSQL processes and beside the Tableau specific application processes, you can kill, and also not mention Postgres, but you can actually kill the rest of the processes without impacting your system, because the rest of the applications are fault tolerant, so that could work as well. So you can kill all the processes with this way, or using their own failover capabilities to restart every process one by one, and that's it. So I think this is a very useful. We use it really often when we need to change the log settings or any other configurations. And you can also use it in a clever way when you added a new worker or just remove the worker. So you can even do small infrastructure changes without doing a complete restart.